Hey guys, it's me, Steve. Obviously, I'm the creator of all the characters you see on this channel, including the Media Wiz. Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. Chris T. Ian. May Jesus be with you. The Blockbusters. Welcome to Blockbuster, how may I help you? And of course, MC Swigga. Yeah! So, I promised that at the end of the Sancho Issue 8 review I would do a top 10 list, and obviously, I told some people early on some of my social media pages, and now you guys finally know what it is. It's a top 10 list. Now, I know it's not, in the Media Wiz continuity, but I'm going to count this as a Media Wiz video, seeing how, we foreshadowed it in the Media Wiz continuity at the end of the Sancho Issue 8 episode. So yeah, this is technically a Media Wiz episode, but I'm doing it, I'm introducing this video as myself, just so, you guys know that this is my personal top 10, and it's, goes without saying, this is obviously Media Wiz's personal top 10 too. So yeah, with all that out the way, this is top 10 favorite movies. Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. Now, I'm gonna be totally honest right now, I thought that the original was funny, but I thought this one was funnier. Not that the original's bad or anything, but I just thought this one was funnier. The movie involves Ace feeling guilty after a raccoon died in a rescue mission. He becomes a monk until his services are required, and he's called to Africa to find the Shikaka bat that will bring peace between two feuding tribes. The movie has a very foreign feel with the African setting, and the interaction with Ace and the tribes is friggin' hilarious. Jim Carrey is perfect for the role of Ace in both of these movies, and it's weird that this is the movie that turned Carrey away from doing sequels, which ultimately led to these. But still, Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls is my favorite example of a sequel that I think is funnier than the original. Borat and Bruno. Now, I told you guys how much I hate inappropriate comedy, and how I mentioned that Borat was the amazing racist sketch done right. These movies are great examples of offensive humor done perfect. Borat is about the Kazakhstani news anchor named Borat as he's sent to America to report traits of American society. The reason that this film works is because while what Borat says is racist, it shows the racism of Americans who are obviously fooled by this obvious stereotype. As for Bruno, it's essentially the same movie, except instead of a Kazakhstani news anchor, it's about a gay Austrian fashion reporter who flees to America to save face from humiliation after a runway incident. So he goes to America to become famous, and wacky shenanigans ensues. If you want to see another great explanation of these movies' genius, go check out Your Movie Sucks review of these movies. Offensive? Maybe. Hilarious? Yes. The Cornetto Trilogy. If you want parodies done right, these three movies are all loving parody tributes to their respective genres of horror, action, and sci-fi. Shaun of the Dead lovingly pays homage to zombie films with lots of references to Romero's Of the Dead movies. Hot Fuzz is a loving tribute to a lot of cop action films like Bad Boys 2 and Point Break, with the whole plot being taken from The Wicker Man. No, seriously, think about it. Cop goes to small town that's up to no good. And as for The World's End, it's about a quintet of guys who go to a bar crawl until they find out that the town that they grew up with is infested with alien robots that will take over people's bodies. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost have the best relationship in Shaun and Hot Fuzz, as you have the leader and the goofball best friend relationship. World's End mixes that up with Frost being the competent busybody and Pegg being the bad boy stuck in the past. If you want to see great parodies films, these are the ones you go to. Dogma. I love heavy satire. As a religious person, I love this movie that lovingly plays with the idea of religion. It's like Bruce Almighty for the heavily philosophical. This movie involves a former Catholic woman who is sent to save humanity from two rogue angels who, if they were to re-enter heaven, would destroy all of existence. This movie is made by admitted Catholic Kevin Smith, and I think this is my personal favorite of his films. He makes mostly good films, with a couple exceptions, but this one I respect the most. One nitpick is that it's a little long, but I had an entire blast going through it. If you're one of those people that loves to think hard about these kind of subjects, as well as laugh, this movie is perfect for you. The Channel Awesome Anniversary films, and the Cinema Snob movie. Are they lame? Kinda. Are they fun to watch? Yeah, for me at least. Just like the Cornetto Trilogy, these movies are made to go after certain genres. Kick-Assia for action films, Suburban Nights for fantasy, and To Boldly Flee for sci-fi. These movies I can honestly describe as funnier versions of those crap Freeberg and Seltzer movies. Sure, they point out what they're referencing, but it kinda makes sense seeing how they do that in their reviews. If you're a geek, this movie is perfect for you. The kind of people that love to catch every little reference that people make. And no surprise, Doug Walker is a fan of the Cornetto Trilogy, and these movies definitely show that. As for the Cinema Snob movie, I can say this. Brad Jones said that he wanted to make a movie that fans and newcomers could watch simultaneously, and I agree. If I had to prefer one or the other, I'd say the Cinema Snob movie I'd go after more, but the Channel Awesome movies I couldn't leave out. They're flawed, but I like them regardless. AVGN, the movie. Now, I mentioned this movie in my vlog for RetroCon last year, as well as making the list for top 5 best things featured on MediaWiz from the Christmas vlog. But really, what else can I say? This movie's made for AVGN fans, and as a fan, I was excited to see the movie. And I was happy seeing it in theaters, online, and now on Blu-ray. The plot is about the nerd finally doing a review of E.T. on Atari, as all the fans have been asking him to do for years. The two new characters, Cooper and Mindy, tag along with the nerd as he embarks on a trip to the Mexico deserts where E.T. was supposedly buried, and then the government suspects them of stuff and wacky sci-fi B-movie antics ensue. Yes, this movie's effects are bad, but they're kinda supposed to be. James meant the movie to look like a B-movie, and it definitely delivered. This movie's a love letter from James, and I loved every minute of it. Ed, and Eddy's Big Picture Show. Okay, I'm a fan of Ed, and Eddy, and this movie is the perfect way to end the series. It might not be as powerful as the ending of Take This Ed and Shove It, which was very bittersweet, but it's a good bookend on the series for me. The premise is the best plot you can have for an Ed, and Eddy movie. The Eds make a scam that goes worse than usual, and they decide to skip town and flee to Eddie's brother's place. But the kids aren't going down without a fight, as they embark on their own little separate side plots that are all enjoyable to watch. I'm not going to spoil the ending because if you haven't seen the rest of the movie, you really need to. It has lots of laughs and lots of heart. If you're an Ed, and Eddy fan, go see this movie. All Pixar movies. Well, okay, except for one, but we'll get to it. Now, I grew up watching Toy Story, Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, and Monsters, Inc. All of these movies I'd file as Pixar's beginning. Great films for kids and maybe even families to enjoy. Great characters, good animation, fantastic music, and so much more. Then we flash forward to Finding Nemo, my first Pixar film that I saw in theaters. This movie, while not my personal favorite, I will say this. Definitely feels like the biggest love letter from the director Andrew Stanton to his son, hence the whole father-son feel of the movie. Then we get to The Incredibles, everyone's favorite. Now, this one is hardcore. It has awesome superhero fight scenes and a great message to adults of how to cope with a midlife crisis. Then, Cars. Yeah, I'm not very fond of this one. All I'll say is this. When I was in theaters and I saw this as a kid, I was bored. Yeah. Moving on. Ratatouille was sort of a return to their older films with a hint of some new blood. It was a typical oddball, goofy duo hooks up and learns about friendship, but also has a very heavy message about criticism and that you shouldn't be a critic unless you're really passionate about something that you critique. Then we get to their darker movies, WALL-E, Up, and Toy Story 3, which these are movies that kids can watch because they're cute and funny, but have very dark themes that adults can definitely attach to, like how to cope with losing a loved one, environmental messages, and how to cope with a child leaving for college. Then, Cars 2. To paraphrase Irving from Midnight Screenings, by far the worst Pixar has done. Yeah, that movie doesn't officially make the list, but since we're discussing Pixar movies, I had to bring it up. Brave was sort of an improvement, and it's a decent little flick, but it wasn't really the best that they've done since their first few. Or even as good as WALL-E, Up, or Toy Story 3. Monsters U came out, which was a little cash grabby, but it was still fun to see, minus the movie theater experience I had. Fades to black. As soon as the movie, fades in, first frame, first thing ever heard was... And then we get to Inside Out, which... Screw it. Go see this movie now. This is the best Pixar has done in a long time. It's easily the strongest Pixar movie I've ever seen. It'll make you cry. And here's hoping The Good Dinosaur will be good too. Dumb and Dumber. This was my first PG-13 comedy, and I have no regrets. This is by far the funniest movie I've ever seen, and it's made me laugh as a child, and it's made me laugh even to this day. The movie involves Harry and Lloyd, played by Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, going on a road trip from Rhode Island to Aspen to deliver a briefcase to a woman that Lloyd drove to the airport. What they don't know is that the briefcase is actually being used as a deliver for a ransom to return the woman's husband. So the bad guy sends the goons to try and follow them, and hilarity ensues. And it doesn't even stop when they get to Aspen. Yeah, usually movies would end at that point, but no, it actually continues. From then on, Harry crushes on the woman that Lloyd already has a crush on, and a feud begins with the two of them, and I'm not even going to spoil the rest. Every scene in this movie has a joke that hits one after the other, but my favorite comedy scene in history has to be the scene where Lloyd fights the Chinese chef. which you just go watch it for yourself if you haven't seen it. It's hilarious. All I can really say is this. For a first movie from the Farrelly brothers, it's pretty damn good. And yes, I saw the sequel. It sucked. Boo-hoo. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. Released in 2006 to a very mixed critical reception and terrible box office, Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny follows the band Tenacious D, made up of Jack Black and Kyle Gass, playing fictional versions of themselves in this fictional biography. The overall plot involves Jack and Kyle meeting each other in LA, where Kyle takes Jack under his wing in the ways of rock and roll. Eventually the two come to grips with each other and form the band Tenacious D, which they call the greatest band on earth. They play small gigs in bars to pay off rent money, but they feel something is missing from their work until they realize a deep dark secret about rock and roll. All the legendary bands of the past had one connection, the Pick of Destiny, a guitar pick with unbelievable powers that makes the greatest guitar riffs, and even dates back to the Dark Ages. With that, Jack and Kyle embark on a quest to find the Pick of Destiny and become legends. Along the way, they come across a Sasquatch, partying teens, security guards, a car chase, and a showdown with Satan himself. So why do I love this movie so much? Well, being a fan of their music, this stuck very heavily to their pseudo-rock comedy personas. The humor is also really funny, with tons of little references and cameos to people like Ben Stiller as a mystical rock enthusiast who tells them about the pick. As for the plot, it's a very Blues Brothers type premise with the duo going on a musical quest, but the two have very great timings together throughout the entire film. My favorite scene is the fight with the devil at the very end. Two mortal men defeat the source of all evil with music. Awesome. Despite some bad reviews and miserable box office, this film is a must-see if you love rock and roll, are a fan of the leads, or if you're just a movie buff. Go check it out. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the picks. You can leave some of your personal top 10s in the comments, give your thoughts, some input. The next MediaWiz video, I'm going to need a little help with this one. The next MediaWiz episode is going to be a review of Tenacious D. And I'm not doing the movie because I already pretty much told you how much I love the movie right now. I'm going to need some help so people can leave some suggestions. I wanted to review something musically related to Tenacious D, like one of their songs or one of their albums. I don't want to do a top 10 favorite songs list, seeing how we just did a top 10 now. So feel free to recommend, an album you want me to review or a song or whatever, something Tenacious D musically related, Feel free to recommend away. Hope you guys enjoyed the top 10 list again, and yeah, see you next time.